To another episode of the CJ McCollum Show. I'm currently recording in the Pelicans facility. As you can see behind me, we got bobbleheads here. We got basketball court there. Our media staff was kind enough to allow me to use their office. We had a long practice today. Preseason is officially over, and the season is officially starting as of 10/24/2023. On this podcast episode, we'll talk about Cassidy and I's favorite teams to watch on League Pass. We'll talk about interesting matchups on opening night and so much more. But right now, I think the focus is on transitioning to the season, making sure everybody's in conditioning, in shape, understanding the play calls, half court sets, secondary offense, side out of bounds plays, all the things that most teams didn't work on in preseason games because they didn't want to show too much. Now teams are tightening up. And for us, having 6 days in between games was a blessing, but also means long practices, long scrimmages, and long days. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm thankful to be able to play, thankful to be here today, and looking forward to watching some fantastic basketball on Tuesday. Cassidy, who is your team or pick of the day on Tuesday? Who do you think is going to win?
I mean, the fact that you're still at the practice facility doing your podcast, like what don't you do? I'm sure you're taking calls on the side as the president of the Players Association. Like it's just nonstop for you, CJ. And the season's here this week. I'm gonna be in 2 games, Wednesday and Friday. But in terms of like the game I'm really wanting to see, I think it's like off the bat, Lakers and Nuggets, the first game, and they've been chirping at each other, right? There's been a lot of talk about, like we can't wait to play them. There's a lot of excitement around the moves that the Lakers made, and obviously the Nuggets are the defending champs, and they still seem really strong heading into this season. So I'm excited for that game for sure. And the games, that I'm working Victor Wembanyama's NBA debut. He's put on quite a show in the preseason. We'll see how that translates and what they're doing at that point guard position in San Antonio, because Pop is getting real creative with Jeremy Sohan at point guard, if you will. And then on Friday, I have, Boston Celtics, arguably the favorites to come out of the East. So up against, the reigning Eastern Conference champs in the Heat. So I have those are the games, obviously some for, personal reasons, but nonetheless, games I'm excited to see. I'm sure you're excited to see the Pelicans and and the Grizzlies.
I am. I'm excited to play, but I think it's always cool when you don't play on opening night because you can kind of watch, obviously see the ring ceremony, which is super cool. And that team normally has like that ring hangover to start the game because of the emotions and the celebration and how long the beginning of the game is. Being able to see how the refs are calling games, right? Are they calling fouls right away? Is the sloppy play in the preseason transitioning over to the season in terms of getting away with fouls in practice because, staff is reffing or you have local referees? What types of sets are teams running? Is it a lot of Spain action? Is it a lot of snap, which is basically a pick where the big sets the screen, the guard runs up and slips out. Just being able to kind of see the pace of the game, how many three-pointers being attempted, and to kind of gauge how we need to play and what type of urgency we need to have, because we're going into the grindhouse or whatever it's called in Memphis, and they defend well, they play hard, they're extremely well coached, they play fast, and it's going to be physical, but you're always just curious to see how the refs are calling games early on in the season.
I mean, you have your eye on those refs. I'm interested to hear your thoughts after the first week, and you point things out to me in terms of like, because it's the start of the season for them too. And they're knocking off the rust as well and learning some new rules, and we'll see how that translates to the beginning of the season. And then, obviously things get really interesting quickly with the in-season tournament. So I mean, as far as like what I'm really interested in is that, this is a star-driven league. And so there are a lot of just singular players who are really standing out. As I mentioned, Victor Wembanyama is, garnering a lot of headlines. I am focused on that big three in Phoenix and the offense that's going to come out of KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker in terms of players that I'm keeping my eye on. Who are you looking at right now?
Yeah, I'm a league pass junkie. My son is going to see a lot of basketball the next 7 months, turning back and forth, watching film on the iPad, TV on. I may have Miss Rachel on or Bluey in the background. But
did you watch it? Did you?
I have watched Bluey since our last conversation.
Okay, so wait, no, we gotta take a pause.
I like it. It's gonna make the rotation. Bluey is in the rotation now.
Did Jacoby like it?
Oh, absolutely. He's fascinated with screens and.
I know.
TV comes on, there's basketball, and he just starts clapping. He's like, yes.
Oh.
Like, yeah, dad, basketball. So he's extremely excited. Every time I turn the TV on, any type of sport, and if it's action figures, dogs, cars, trucks, he's like, truck. He loves it. He loves it. But in terms of who I'm looking forward to watching this year, Jordan Poole is the easy answer for me. The guy that scored 40 points.
That's the easy answer for you?
Jordan Poole is an offensive wizard. Ability to score off the bounce, can run pick and rolls, isos, catch and shoot. He's, the step splash brother, right? Like the guy that came in and had a little bit of Steph to his game, a little bit of Clay, and, really helped him and was pivotal in that championship run. And I think him having the leash cut and being able to be free is going to be really good at times, and it'll be an experiment at other times as he continues to grow and develop and get used to being the main focal point of the defense. But I look forward to watching him with a license to kill and a license to shoot. Him and Kuz is going to be really fun seeing their offensive prowess and just really
that
seeing
gives
him.
Something for the Wizards fans to kind of
yeah.
to watch, because we're going to talk about this in a bit. But Zach Lowe, did his league pass rankings and they came in 30th. So
I said Jordan Poole.
Right. But I look, no Haney. I want to see that to be a successful partnership as well. I think I think he has those moments of just like, he turns into a Tasmanian devil out there and like it can consume a court. I think that will be interesting. I want to see him and Kuz too. I think they have kind of like a charisma thing going on with them too. I'm not going to say the they Kuz likes his style and Jordan has his own kind of vibe. I think they could, draw some viewers just on their personalities alone. So, all right. Their fashion show. Yeah.
Their runway is going to be epic, especially Kuz with the hair combinations he's going to pull out throughout this season. A la Dennis Rodman, but not Dennis Rodman, if you know what I mean. But the hair.
Well, Jeremy Sohan is actually, speaking of, like, because that's when Rodman really, like, obviously the Bulls, but he started it when he was with San Antonio, and Sohan we'll get to know him a lot better this year because he's going to be on national television a lot more with being teammates with Victor Wembanyama. But yeah, we got the Spurs on Wednesday on ESPN as going up against Kyrie and Luka, full training camp, trips to Abu Dhabi and Madrid together.
Sure, that was fun.
Yeah. I mean, Luka, though, I'm hearing that like he, went through a full practice, so we'll see if he's good to go. I think that's really what like Dallas can't afford to have many injuries this year, because in the West it's really tight, and they have a lot of they're going to be middle of the pack if they can't find a way to really iron out that offense and defense. So in terms of our doubleheader on ESPN, we got the Knicks and Celtics starting it off. We talked a lot about the Celtics just being a favorite in the East. What is your what's your take on the Knicks? How do you feel they're going to be this year? The moves they've made, and what
I like the Knicks.
Yeah.
I like the Knicks a lot. I think they're well coached. Obviously, Tibbs is going to play his starters, a lot of minutes. They're going to be able to get in rhythm. Consistently, they've been healthy. Jalen Brunson had a great year last year. Julius Randle, another all-star, all-NBA type year where he was efficient. He scored around the basket. He made a lot for them. I think one of the underrated signings for that team is Josh Hart, the guy who's in the trade for me as well. Great defender, pushes tempo, one of the best rebounding guards in the NBA, does all the little things that impacts winning. Looking at DiVincenzo, another really good signing, a bunch of Villanova guys basically on their roster who are hard-nosed, know how to play the game the right way, have championship DNA from their college and NBA experiences. And I think understanding RJ Barrett's development, Quentin Grimes, and Quickly, who's also due for a payday any day now, or eligible for an extension, they have the recipe for success in terms of star players, a really good point guard, scoring off the bench, and a defensive foundation. So I think the sky's the limit for them. Mitchell Robinson is a really good rim protector. Jericho Sims will get some minutes this year. I think they have what it takes to get back to the playoffs. It's just a matter of matchups. And you know how it is in the NBA, health and matchups, it pretty much determines your future. So it'll be interesting to see how they hold up over an 82-game season where they're playing a lot of minutes.
Mm-hmm. And then going up against the Celtics, obviously we know the moves that were made this year. In terms of like some other players I'm really interested in, I'm interested to see, how Kristaps Porzingis can flourish with that team. And, Joe Mazzulla has made it a point to tell people to not overreact to their starting lineup, and that, it's going to be a combination of going double bigs or, Al off the bench, and which he said he's willing to do. I mean, 15 seasons, he's always started, but, this team has so much depth. And, Kristaps is a guy who obviously came into the league with a lot of, fanfare, even if he was booed at the draft, but he, got Don the Unicorn All-Star, and, had like a rough patch in Dallas, and then coming off his best year in Washington, now has, a supporting cast of guys who kind of take the pressure off of him to not be the star. And, my time around him so far, he seems really confident, and, Joe Mazzulla keeps singing his praises. So that's a guy who I feel like, who could, make some noise there in Boston with like a lot of characters around there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Joe Mazzulla was thrown into the fire last year, obviously with the Ime Udoka situation, and him essentially becoming head coach the day or 2 days before training camp started, which is really, really hard to do, especially when you're preparing to be an assistant. But I think that year he got under his belt would be crucial for ability to adjust on the fly, understanding what it's like to be a head coach, and all those things. And from what I've heard, he does a fantastic job. He watches a lot of film. He appreciates the game and is really, really big on preparation. So I think they're going to have another really good year. Obviously, they got JB and JT. They re-signed Peyton Pritchard. White, who's, one of the best defenders in the NBA, versatile. He's a plug and play, can guard 1 through 5, can switch, catch and shoot, finishes well around the basket. They have the makings of a really good team. You talk about the Unicorn being a perfect fit, a guy that can catch and shoot. He can attack closeouts. He can play in a pick and roll, and is a rim protector. You throw in Drew Holiday, and you have all the makings of a championship roster. I think it'll be fascinating to see them play against the Milwaukee Bucks. All those matchups throughout the game that you'll see, whether that's Dame and Drew Holiday, whether that's JT, Pat Connaughton, Giannis, JT, Giannis, JB. Like, there's a lot of really good players who play the game the right way that will be competing on the highest stage. I think obviously everyone's going to focus on, the Celtics, the Lakers, the Denver Nuggets, those types of teams. But I think one of the teams that's under the radar, but will probably have more nationally televised games this season, is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I look forward to seeing Chet Holmgren play this year. He had a whole year to kind of rehab and watch. It's almost like a quarterback that gets drafted and kind of sits for a year. Obviously his was injury related, but the game is easier after you're able to watch it travel with the team, work out, go through a full season of learning the offense, learning the players, get stronger. And I think he's going to fit in extremely well over there with OKC. They got 1,000 picks. They got a bunch of talent. They got an all-world guard and another all-world guard out of Australia and Josh Giddey. Defenders in Lou Dort. They got the Jalen, they're not brothers, but they both Jalen's. They got a really good team, good roster, and I think they're
not just Jalen's. They're Jalen Williams, both Jalen Williams.
Jalen Williams brothers, but not brothers.
Yes, yeah, that's got to be really confusing. But no, I am all on board with OKC being a league pass team. But you mentioned Milwaukee. There was an interesting story that came out last week about your former head coach Terry Stotts. You know, he was the lead assistant to Adrian Griffin. You mentioned Joe Mazzulla and his first full year as a head coach. I know Adrian Griffin has been around the league for a long time, but this is his first time as a head coach, and now losing his lead assistant, who obviously is very familiar with his new superstar and Damian Lillard. You know, just a few days before the start of the season. What were your thoughts when you heard that? Have you spoken to Terry? And, you know, what do you think this is going to mean for Dame?
Yeah, I was very surprised to see Terry step down, knowing his personality, knowing how much he loves the game and how excited he was to work alongside Giannis. And then the addition of Dame, being able to be creative with the offense and being that coach that the head coach can rely upon with head coaching experience, with experience alongside Dame in a partnership that lasted, you know, close to 10 years, maybe over 10 years. I thought it was very strange. Obviously, something must have occurred to where he felt like he needed to step down. I have not talked to him, but I'll speak to him before the season starts and just catch up. But I'm sure something must have occurred for him to want to step down, because he loves the game. He loves being around the players. He loves the competitive. He's an offensive wizard in terms of ability to think the game, draw up plays, and put people in position to succeed. So I think that is a huge loss for the Bucks, especially because of the timing with camp being over, the season starting this week. The guy who was essentially supposed to be there to kind of help make sure the ship is heading in the right direction, if you will, with the head coaching
he was
experience.
calling the plays on offense, you know, like, and look, Adrian Griffin addressed, you know, the news, and he said it caught us all off guard. You know, it was a personal decision that he made, and we just have to respect that. But, you know, it's, look, I'm sure they'll be fine. It's just one of those things. It's like, all right, it's just another kind of challenge that Adrian Griffin has to add to his long list of challenges. You know, being a first time head coach with like the spotlight on their team and trying to get, you know, two superstars to gel. I mean, you know Terry well, you know, but Terry's also, how old is Terry? I mean, he's also older.
Terry's in his 60s.
Okay. Well, he's still, he looks sprite. he seems, but you know, you never know what's going on in people's lives. So, I just hope that things can kind of, you know, catch up quickly for them in terms of Adrian Griffin kind of filling that hole on his coaching staff, because I think for a new head coach, you know, having the right staff around you to get you off to a good start is paramount.
Yeah. We got some updates right here.
Yeah.
There was a huddle. Instead of walking toward players to discuss the offense, Stotts attempted to start a conversation with Lillard and Giannis. Griffin called Stotts to join the coaching huddle. When Stotts asked for some time with the players, Griffin yelled for Stotts to join the coaches huddle. The incident occurred in front of the entire team, those sources said. So that might have been the beginning of the end, or just the last domino, if you will, on their situation. It seems as if there was just miscommunication or a little falling out, if you will, of them having maybe some back and forth or some dialogue in front of the team based on the sources and the allegations that leaked. I think it was in The Athletic and another article. And, you know, Terry's 65-year-old man, right? So he's probably sure if there's things that he wants to be a part of and things that he doesn't want to be a part of at this stage of life. And you got to really be in to be a coach at this stage, especially having been a head coach for many years. And it's a choice that you make to be an assistant and to be an associate head coach. And if your heart's not all the way in it, then it's got to be tough to do it, especially when you know you're capable of being a head coach.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's where we can leave it. Like, I'm sure maybe there'll be more stories of that come out about this situation, but the decision was made, and he made it pretty swiftly, to allow the team to kind of figure things out. And the season is here now. So this is who the Bucks are. So we'll see what Adrian Griffin can do with Dame and Giannis. In terms of we keep talking about league pass teams. The Bucks are going to be on our air a lot on ESPN. So I mean, I guess you could call them a league pass team if if you want to follow just the development of the Bucks and Dame and Giannis in particular. But in terms of like Zach Lowe's rankings, which we mentioned earlier, he came up with the rankings 30-1 as far as like the most watchable teams on League Pass. How do you feel about him ranking you guys, the Pelicans, 15th on the most exciting team to watch? Half.
I think it's middle of the road. I think
literally middle of the road.
Perfectly in the middle. I think I don't feel a way about it because there's a lot of uncertainty, right? We're a great team to watch and really fun to watch when we're healthy. I think that's really important and probably was a deciding factor in his decision making. I also think that there's a lot of young teams out there who are perceived to be exciting right now. They're young, there's untapped potential. You don't really know what you're going to get from them, and people are really excited because of the unknown. I think you've seen us perform at a high level for a small sample size, so you kind of have an idea of what we're capable of when we are healthy, but now it's about putting it together for a full season, and we look forward to that challenge. But in terms of, I mean, there's tons of teams that I'm sure I would like to watch. I'm sure there's tons of teams you would like to watch. And I think as the season progresses, we'll find ourselves on TV more and more, I would imagine.
I mean, do you have who is your number one team? Because Zach basically has the Bucks as his number one league pass team, followed by the Warriors and then the Nuggets. So
wow.
Who are your, let's go top 3 league pass teams? Because to me, those aren't really league pass teams. I guess
they're going to be on ESPN and Turner every day.
I mean, I think it's like, this is kind of like the MVP. It's like, how do you define it? Like, sure, it's what are the teams that like, all right, we got a 14 game slate tonight. I really want to watch this team.
I'll go with teams that probably aren't going to be on TV as much because those are real league pass watches. And you talk about a 14 game slate: Lakers, Bucks, Celtics, Heat, Warriors, Spurs. They'll be on TV consistently. I would go Cavs. I really look forward to watching Donovan Mitchell. Darius Garland. They got those bigs, those versatile bigs that can do a lot around the basket. They protect the rim really well. And being from Ohio, you understand how hard it is to play there. They got great home court advantage. I would go Minnesota. I like Anthony Edwards' game. He's gotten so much better year over in terms of his development, his creativity on offense, the jumper. I believe finish around the basket. He guards. He's a pit bull. And they got, the self-proclaimed best shooting big of all time. And statistics kind of back it. I'm not even going to lie to you. Cat shoots the ball as good as any big we've ever seen and play this game. I mean, he's basically 90 from the line. He's over 40 from 3. Set shot, but it's cash, and he got range on his jumper. He can finish around the basket. He's a real force to be reckoned with, and obviously they got Rudy as well. And they got the young fella who just signed for, I think it was $136 million, McDaniels, the guy that can guard. He's versatile. He can finish around the basket. He's
Kyle
a
Anderson.
Really skilled player. They got some depth. And I think they got some experience last year playing in the playing game, and I think they ended up making the playoffs and losing to Denver. I think they was gentlemen sweep.
I mean, didn't Bruce Brown say that the Timberwolves are their hardest out last season in the playoffs. Like they're due. They're due to make that leap. Specifically Anthony Edwards. He's a star.
Yeah, I think they are due. Obviously, I hope that this isn't the year that they're due, being in the West, but I think they're going to make a jump because of the experience, because of them playing together, the maturation process of health and all those things. So that'll be a fun team to watch. That'll probably not be on TV as much to start the season and probably slowly get more TV games. And then you talked about the Suns. Who doesn't want to watch Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal?
I mean, Devin
Yusuf
said
Nurkic.
it. Who's shout out Nurk. Devin said it. Like, who's going to guard them? Is that going to be like one of those things, and not one, not two, not three, that we're going to see?
No, I think this is different because they're not talking about championships, although I know they got aspirations. They're just talking about how tough it is. Like, can you double K? Can you double Book? Can you trap Brad? Like, you can, but then that means it's a rotation where two of the best scorers to ever play the game, three of the best scorers that the game has seen in the last 10 years,
seriously,
are playing with closeouts and one-on-one. Like, the best defender goes to KD, second best defender goes to Book. Like, how do you do it? Like, I get it. Like, it is a dilemma, and coaches are going to have to stay up late at night figuring out coverages. How do you guard pick and rolls? How do you guard handoffs? What if they put Book as the single side tag with KD handling? Like, you switch the screen? Do you trap the screen? Do you hedge? There's so many layers to what they can do and accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah, they're on my league pass, even though, they're going to be on national TV a lot, but I think, they're not. I think that just every night I feel like there's going to be some eye-popping number from one of the three, two of the three, all of the three. In the same light, in terms of offense, I want to see what the Kings do, to back up what they did last year. As you mentioned, the Thunder, they're just an interesting young team with Chet. And for me, another team probably opposite of all the other reasoning is the 76ers. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know what what's going to happen. Let me pose something to you here. Okay. I know as the president of the Players Association, like, there's certain things you could speak on and certain things you can't, but like, say this situation was on your team, like Zion or Brandon just were MIA, and the season's around the corner. Again, Harden not at practice. They don't know when he's going to be back. It's uncertain if he's going to be there for the season opener. When would you need to know, as a leader of the team, like, if one of your teammates was going to play in the game? Because Joel's saying all the right things right now, but there's got to be frustrations.
There's for sure frustration because you have a chance to win the championship, but you hope that whatever James is going through, maybe it's personal, maybe it's health related, that everything is all right, and you control the controllables in this life and in this sport. And I think for JoJo, it's tough. They were a game away from going to the conference finals, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had a 2-game lead.
Yeah,
they lost game 7.
They lost game 6 at home and lost game 7
against the Celtics, right?
But were blown out on game 7, but lost a tight one.
So they were that close.
When Jason Tatum had a terrible game and then blew up in the 4th.
Yeah, they were this close. So I mean, I think you understand how close they are to Tyrese Maxey. You have all these pieces, Anthony Melton, like, you got.
But the Tyrese Maxey thing is a point though, CJ, because should Nick Nurse name him the point guard? So like, they're having to work with all these different scenarios. Is James going to be there? Is he not going to be there? And a guy who can actually take another step and maybe be that Robin to Joel's Batman for the season. Like, he's kind of having to straddle the line here of, what his role is.
I think he's going to take a jump regardless. And I think his skill set, it definitely complements Embiid. He's fast. He can get to the free throw line. He can shoot, loves to catch and shoot three, can shoot off the bounce as well. Guy who, will flirt with 50, 40, 90 this year. But I think to answer your initial question, I would need to know the morning of. It would be helpful because of the preparation, how hard you work out before the game, your pregame, how long you sleep, for that pregame nap, the type of treatment that you get, Normatec massage, all those things that you do to kind of get ready. You want to know who's in and who's out as early as possible on game day so that you can kind of go through your normal routine, watch film, maybe speak to some of the other guys who could potentially be replacing James in the offense to understand what play calls you want to run, with sets, fourth quarter plays, last 3 minutes, last 5 minutes, half court sets that you might want to execute, and making sure everybody's kind of comfortable because, as you said before, James controls the ball, he controls the offense a lot and the pace of the game. And if he's not there, you got to be on the same page with everybody else.
Well, I mean, I guess a good thing is that they don't open their season until Thursday. So that's in Milwaukee. So maybe, whatever is going on with James will be figured out by them. That is a loaded statement because there's a lot to figure out with James, but we'll see. But I think there's been a lot of conversation around Joel and how patient he should be with this organization. But I do have this understanding that he's happy, with Nick Nurse and the Nick Nurse offense so far. So I think he's just looking to kind of thrive with his new head coach for the time being. You guys, you get things started on Wednesday. You talked about last podcast. You were like, yep, we're wrapping up early. We got 6 days of practice, and now I'm talking to you kind of a week later, and you're like, I'm done with these practices. You're ready. You're ready to get going, and you take on the Grizzlies as we get into the Pelican Brief here.
I think twofold, right? You need the practices. The practices are important. You understand crispness, defensive rotations, flow, spacing, all of those things are really important. But then you also understand that in the game, it's a little different. The rotations are different. The timing is different. How long you're on the court together, fouls, free throws, free throw plays, all those things are different. So you just kind of want to start that because it's more fun. It's more fun. And you've practiced, you've worked out for so long. You want to just get to the games and really just kind of see where you stand and see what you're going to do well as a team and see what you need to improve upon as a team. But I'm excited about the game. We're going to play in a hostile environment, obviously, in Memphis. Good team. They're diverse across the board in terms of how they score, their shot diet. A lot of threes, a lot of paint. Bane is a guy who can get it in transition. He can shoot it. I think he was shooting 62% off the dribble from three in the preseason, which is bonkers. Jaren Jackson's getting the ball a lot and having freedom to kind of get downhill. Obviously, they got D-Rose. They got Smart. Smart was an addition from the Boston Celtics in a trade where he brings a defensive mindset and a mentality. He can catch and shoot threes. He can finish around the basket. He can post. Luke Kennard, Zaire Williams, they got a good team. Obviously, the injury to Steven Adams and him being out for the season is going to hurt them and change, their roster construction and kind of how they play. But that's still a very good team, and it'll be a good test for us to start the season.
Yeah, that Steven Adams news is such a bummer, right? It's just, obviously he got hurt last season around January, and it kind of just kept him out. He was supposed to come back, kept him out. And then, we saw him play in a couple preseason games, and it's always kind of like a thin line in how you kind of treat those injuries. He has a PCL injury in his right knee, and he's been ruled out for the remainder of the season. And due to the fact that he now has to have surgery. But he's a big presence on that team, not just physically.
Right.
He's a veteran leadership in that locker room. They're already going through some turmoil with Ja suspended for the first, 25 games of the season. So they'll be without their face of the team, of the franchise. It will be interesting to see what kind of identity Marcus kind of takes on that team. I mean, we all know who Marcus Smart is. See, it seems like a natural fit for him, to be in the grindhouse. It makes sense for Marcus Smart to be there, but I don't know. The expectations around the Grizzlies, I feel like are they're up and down. I think until Ja's back, you can't really kind of have a real good grasp on what this team is going to be this season.
Yeah, I think it's premature to judge any teams right now, especially teams that aren't whole. And missing a guy like Ja for 25 games is going to hurt, but it's also going to help the development of other players. And then when he comes back, if they can hit the ground running, he's an all-world player. He changes the game for everybody. He's the type of guard who can lead the NBA in points in the paint at 6'6", 162, whatever he is. He's explosive, great in transition, gets your team in the bonus early. He's fast. He does all those things. He's must-see TV. And I think if they have him healthy and as a part of their team for the long haul, they're always going to have a chance to win games.
Well, how are you viewing your role this season? What are you tasking yourself with in terms of, some goals that you want, and then what are you being told is, really the role you need to take on this team to ensure that you guys have the most success you guys can have?
Yeah, I think it just starts with leadership, doing things the right way every day. That's the first part, making sure we're getting in the sets, making sure we're getting out in transition and running, and making sure BI and Z are really maximizing their talents and who they are. Those are two guys that can play on the ball. Those two guys that can play off the ball. They can get downhill and pick and rolls, post ups. They can get early touches in the flow of the offense in transition on makes or misses. They can be handlers in 55s or double drags. They can run snap. They got a lot of versatility, and I think for us to be great, we have to maximize that. That means them having the ball. That means them initiating some of the offense. That means them being screeners. That means me sometimes setting screens, me sometimes getting screens from them. Just doing whatever it takes for us to be successful and really just maximizing everybody's talent. Obviously, we got to continue to work on our spacing, got to continue to work on our pace, our understanding of, time and score, value and possessions, still being able to generate quality threes, being able to generate corner threes. JB talked about that a lot in preseason. And I think I'll play on the ball. Some I'll initiate the offense. Some I'll play off the ball. Those guys are talented enough to where they can get the outlets and go. Herb can initiate the offense some too. He did it at Alabama. And he's a really cerebral player who can run an offense, who knows when to cut, who knows when to screen. And JV is another guy who can get touches and really dominate. He's an efficient player around the basket. He can catch and shoot. He makes his free throws, and he can get us in the bonus early. So I think it's just about running our offense consistently with pace and then just allowing the ball to go where it's supposed to. And generally, as coach would say, the ball is going to find talent, right? The ball finds talent every night. So you don't have to worry about that.
So can you just set the scene for me when you're watching all of these games and Jacoby is with you? Like, how many monitors do you have on an off night? And he stays up for games? I mean, it's late.
Kobe has a hard out unless it's game night. So if I have a game, he'll come and mommy will bring him to the game and he'll stay for a little bit and then end up leaving, maybe first quarter, maybe it's halftime, whatever the case may be. Early games, like I think we play Saturday at 6, he'll be able to probably watch the whole game. Games average about 2 hours and 10 minutes. So he'll be able to stay up till after 8. On a night like tomorrow, he'll probably be able to watch a little bit of the early game. We're Central Time, so 7 is 8 and 6 is 7. So he'll be able to watch a little bit of the games because we're Central Time, and then put him down. If it's not a game night that I'm playing in, he probably goes to bed at 7:30, 8. So he'll be able to see some of the game. He usually watches for a little bit, and then he's all over the place. He's playing with his truck. He's crawling around, pushing the wagon, and just easily distracted and entertained by his toys. So he's not going to be able to watch a full game for a while.
But he's he knows to be a Pelicans fan. Does he understand that?
He knows that I plays basketball.
Okay.
He'll point to the TV when I'm on TV, when I'm on an away game. He'll go get the ball and dunk it, when basketball's on. If I tell him, Jacoby, dunk it for Dada, he'll get the ball and dunk it. Which he'll work on his jumper. He just wants to dunk everything, which is a great mentality, but we want to work on the skills. So he's a good passer. He throws the ball down the hall. He'll pass the ball. He'll kick the ball. So maybe soccer is in the future as well. But
hey, a lot of money in soccer.
He loves sports and cars and trucks.
Those are great interests at just under 2, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way.
As long as like he knows to cheer for Dada, because I'm at a phase right now with my daughter that she's just, we have our teams, like me and my husband, we have our teams, but she refuses to cheer for any of those teams because she only wants to cheer for New York teams because she's from New York. And I'm like, she's killing my husband because, well, so are the Commanders. So I honestly don't know if I should subject my daughter to that team, but I digress. Well, next time we talk, it's going to be a whole weekend to the regular season. And I can't wait. I mean, are you excited? Are you nervous? I have a little bit of like anxiousness. Like I'm ready for the season to start. I'm nervous about it.
I think anxious, definitely anxious, excited. The travel is the one thing that you forget about, right? Just how much you have to fly during season. Every few days you're playing games, getting on planes, getting off planes. So just getting in that routine again is.
Do you have lay down beds in your plane?
No, we don't. Well, we have those big Delta planes that we fly on where you can get back pretty far, but it's not pods.
Do you have a pillow? Do you have a neck pillow? What's your
I get a regular.
Situation?
So I can sleep in any circumstances. So I travel, I wear flight tights, all that stuff. I'll probably Normatec on the plane. I put my headphones on. Sometimes I wear the eye mask. Sometimes I don't. But I get my recline by here. I wear a little lumbar protector for my spine, and that's all she wrote. I'll eat, drink a Pedialyte, and then it's game over.
Do you always sit next to the same person?
I've been sitting in the same seat since I was in Portland. Me and Dame used to sit in the second to the third row. I sat on the inside. He sat on the aisle. And then when I got traded,
you're a window because I have to have the window if I want to sleep.
I was window for 8.5 years, and I got traded to the Pelicans. I took the aisle seat. So last season, I can't remember who sat beside me, but this season, Dyson sits to my left.
I don't know how you sleep.
Z's to like my right, like right here.
You guys aren't a team that like plays jokes on people sleeping.
Nah, I mean, if they do, it hasn't happened to me yet. They play cards and guys listen to music and eat and just vibe out, tell jokes. So it's a really cool setting. It's just a lot of travel. So that's where the anxiousness comes in. It's just like so
being away,
much travel, being away from your family, playing all these games, missing stuff. But when you have a young kid, like last year I was worried that I was going to miss his first steps, like before he walked, and I actually was able to see it, thankfully. But you just worry about like those types of things, but I was able to see it, so that was cool.
Yeah, it's not, it can't be easy, like being a young dad in this league too. I mean, Jason Tatum talked about that a lot, with Deuce. I think a lot of people don't realize, like, NBA players, you're real people too. Like, not just basketball
we have real
players.
Feelings. We have real feelings and emotions.
Exactly. And on that note, good luck and have a great opening week, and can't wait to be back with you all again next week. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Make sure your phone's charged so your daughter can watch Bluey and you can watch the games.
Exactly.